for joining us today. We're delighted here to be in the offices of Russell Brennan Keane in Athlone, and we're joined by Michelle O'Donoghue, partner in RBK, and we're delighted to pull on some of Michelle's experience to do with how to avoid instances of fraud and things that you might have seen, Michelle, that might have affected some of your clients. We'd be delighted to hear about it and see, could you enlighten some of our followers and members?
Sure, Bernie. And look, I'm delighted to, have a chance to have a chat with you here today. And I suppose in my role, there's probably three things that I have seen that, fraudsters will use as the, obvious but consistently effective ways of defrauding people. So the first one, I suppose, is the CEO impersonation one. The second one is the kind of the classic invoice misdirect or redirect, and the third one then is kind of like a social engineering type text or scam of that nature. So maybe I'll take each of them and so that people around Roscommon and the surrounds will know what they look like if they happen to see them. So the CEO impersonation one, you're the CEO of the credit union in Roscommon, Bernie, and what might frequently happen is...
And I think, Michelle, we'll just put it out there to everyone. This could be like the chairman of a community club. This could be proprietor of a sole trader. This covers, fraud has no limits or no ages.
No limits, it's indiscriminatory, but we'll just use you as the example. Okay. So I might be working in the credit union and in accounts payable or paying the bills or whatever, and an email comes into me and it's from Bernie or indeed anybody else that would be running a business, and it says, please pay this invoice. And for all intents and purposes, it looks genuine. There's an invoice attached. It's from a supplier that you would regularly deal with. Your email address it's written in language that the person sending it would normally use and all the rest of it. And I don't stop and have a think about it. And the next thing is I just go, oh, sure, that must be a real invoice, and I pay it. And what's happening is somebody has gone to very extreme lengths to clone an email address, figure out how the person normally would write and converse and all the rest of it, and has gone and researched and has come up with a valid invoice and all the rest of it. But as soon as you process that payment, the money is gone. So that's the first one. The second one then is the invoice redirect. So every business in the town is going to have suppliers that they deal with on a very regular basis, and you will have relationships with the accounts payable team and whatnot. And the thing to watch out for here is you get a request in that says change an email address, change bank details, change the destination of something that you normally would do. And the fraudster here in this instance is they're working on the basis that it's a busy office. People don't have time to stop and think. They're distracted by everything that's going on and they think nothing of it, and they update bank account details or email addresses or what have you, and then they process the payments. So it is a genuine invoice and it is a genuine debt, but what people need to do in that instance is never pay it. Pick up the phone, call your contact and say, listen, I got an email in here. Have you really changed account details? And check the source of it. And if they say yes, well then maybe go ahead and reconfirm what those details are, and maybe send a partial payment just to confirm that it is accurate and correct.
And that's actually a really good one, Michelle, because we've actually heard of a member that has been affected by that. The supplier was well known, but the supplier's email was infiltrated.
Yeah.
So, and the bank details were changed. So you're after giving great advice there to double check if there's a change in bank details. Link in with that supplier and make sure that they have changed their bank details.
Yeah. Well, what's the worst that can happen? You'll annoy the head off of somebody that's already very busy, but better that than trying to explain, I paid you, but I didn't pay you. And then I suppose the third one that we touched on was just the social engineering or the phishing one. And this one will happen quite frequently as well. I think your members or people will know of the Dear Mum and Dad text, but what's actually happening is they're now going to businesses and you'll get in a text that says, from your bank that you're dealing with AIB or Bank of Ireland or Permanent TSB or whoever it might be, and in comes the text and says, we've noticed suspicious activity on your account. And people will probably be watching out for the Dear Mum and Dad ones, and then when they see these ones, they think nothing of it. And sure, lo and behold, you're either replying to a link, or indeed you could very easily answer the phone and somebody pretending to be from the local bank And before you know it, you've given away your account number, your IBAN, you've given your security code, the whole lot, and then money's gone. So again, what I would say is if you receive anything like that is don't click on links, don't answer the person on the phone, hang up the phone, delete the text, and ring your bank and say, listen, I'm after getting this. I want to check, is it real? Is it genuine? And because again, the banks will want to know that these, or credit unions will want to know that these texts are doing the, or these phone calls are doing the rounds. Because if they can, again, gather information about who's getting them, they can help their members or they can help their customers as well.
Absolutely. Brilliant, Michelle. No, great advice there, and thanks so much. I suppose another case that we actually heard through a member, because all of this is the reason we're doing this is because we see members and people in Roscommon being affected, was where a person had received their lump sum at retirement and they wanted to invest it. And they went online. And what they actually found was a cloned website of a retail intermediary. And they actually parted with the money and invested prior to getting the advice to ensure that this agency was regulated by the central bank. I suppose, would you have any advice for people there that are concerned maybe about the costs involved of getting financial advice, but I suppose the importance of it?
Well, you cannot beat getting independent financial advice, but I think it's also important maybe to do your own research as well. And you know, that whole scam was very big last year, and I even learned something new myself at the time, that fraudsters have evolved, and this mechanism of sucking people in is actually called pig fattening, believe it or not, because you know, farmers will raise pigs. They take a while to get them nice and big and fat and ready for butchering. And fraudsters have copped on that people, you know, will be aware, so they don't go for the instant, give me your money sort of thing. They lure you in, and they have glossy brochures, and they have websites.
And they're picking on vulnerabilities as well.
Vulnerability, yeah. So, I mean, you know, what I would say maybe if there's young people out there are far more tech savvy and all the rest of it. They'll be well able to Google and do research and ask around. But if anybody that's listening has, you know, an elderly parent or a vulnerable adult that they're looking after or anything else like that, you know, have the conversation with them and say to them, listen, if anybody comes to you, it's important that you don't sign anything, you don't give them any details, and you know, maybe offer to go with them to meet the person or help them to get independent financial advice. It's not that expensive, and you know, you can't put a price, I suppose, on your peace of mind of knowing that your money is safe and secure.
No, and that's great. And I'm going to put another curveball back to you, Michelle.
Sure.
It's not always the vulnerable people in society or the elderly people that are getting caught. The members that we are seeing affected are actually busy people. Busy people on the go that pick up their phone or go onto their computer. It might be to buy a ticket. It might be to update something. And this other thing happens nearly at the same time. And they're being caught at a time when they're not just fully focused on the job in hand. So again, I'm going back to fraud has no age, it has no limits. And I suppose stop, think before you press it.
And what I would always say is, look, I'm guilty of it myself. You know, you're busy, you're balancing work, you have kids to pick up from school, you have football matches to go to, you have dinners to cook, the whole lot. And that goes for men out there as well as us women. But what I would say is I always just, when I see those things myself coming in, I always just park it. And I always try and find 5 or 10 minutes at the end of the day where I will look at something and I'll say, is this real? Is it fake? Is it whatever it is? And the last thing I try to do is look at those, no matter how busy I am, I always just say, look, I'm just going to park that till I have time to deal with it. Do you know, nothing is that urgent that it can't wait, you know, and you know, we're all in a rush, but I think take that time, you know.
Yeah, Michelle, you're after hitting the nail on the head. Nothing is that urgent. No matter how urgent it appears, nothing is that urgent, because you could possibly lose out here. And people have lost.
They have,
Okay, Michelle, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for giving up your time and coming down during your busy work day. We really appreciate it, and hopefully some of our followers and members will have got some nuggets of information that you've put out there. Thanks so much.
Not at all, Bernie. Happy to talk to you.